Do you juggle so many tasks at once that you walk into a room and forget why you're there? Do you reach for another cup of coffee even though your hands are still shaking and your heart's racing from the last one? Are you sick and tired all the time? When you sit down to play with your kids, are you counting the seconds because it feels like you're wasting time? Please stop living like this. It might work out for now, but it's not sustainable and it could make you sick in the long run. Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you all. My name is Sarah. I'm a medical doctor and a mother of 2 boys, and currently I'm on maternity leave. And since I'm planning on going back to my work in the hospital soon, I really wanted to make sure that I was in the right headspace for it. Because in the past few years my life felt rather stressful and exhausting. I felt like I was constantly doing something. Either I was at work or I was busy at home, cleaning, washing, gardening, organizing, running after my children. Even my mind was full. Worrying and making plans and trying not to forget important deadlines or appointments. I wasn't even able to sit down with my kids and simply play something. To me, it felt like I was wasting time. I had the urge to put on a podcast or a productive audiobook in the background while playing. The moment my children would go to sleep, I would rush to get all my tasks done. Most days I had 6 to 7 cups of coffee, went to bed late, and had 4 to 5 hours of sleep on a regular basis. Thanks to all the caffeine, I did not feel that tired during the day. But to be honest, I knew that something was off. Of course, I was productive and things would get done, but deep down I knew that what I was doing was not healthy and not sustainable. But I could not get over this inner restlessness. And I'm sure a lot of women out there are experiencing this kind of imbalance in their lives. Because we're meant to fit into so many roles as mothers and wives, and in our professions as doctors, psychologists, teachers. That's why I saw the need to talk about this topic of healing your nervous system. As a doctor, I was very skeptical about this term at first, because it wasn't something we learned in med school. Perhaps it's just not in the German curriculum. I don't know how it is with other countries. I mean, of course, we learned about the basics and how certain drugs can affect our nervous system, but that was it. So I did my own research and tried implementing different habits. Just in case you don't know anything about this topic, here's a quick overview for you. Our nervous system is divided into 2 parts. On the one side, we have our somatic nervous system that controls voluntary movements and processes sensory information like touch, sight, or sound. We use it when grabbing a cup of coffee or touching a book or turning our head toward a sound. On the other side, we have our autonomic nervous system that regulates involuntary processes like heartbeat, digestion, or breathing. And the autonomic nervous system, again, can be divided into 2 parts, a sympathetic and a parasympathetic branch. The sympathetic branch activates during stress, danger, excitement, or exertion. It's also called fight or flight mode. It prepares your body for action. That's why your body will respond with an increase of heart rate and blood pressure, faster breathing, sweating, and your blood flow shifts away from your digestion to your muscles. Then there's the second part, the parasympathetic branch, the rest and digest mode. It dominates during calm, restful states, promotes digestion and recovery. It calms your body down after stress by a decrease of your heart rate and blood pressure, slower breathing, increase in digestion, saliva production, gut motility, and there should always be a dynamic balance between those 2 systems, so your body is able to respond appropriately to challenges and recover effectively. And here it gets interesting, because we often think that our autonomic nervous system is autonomic. We feel like it is out of our control, but that's not true. We can decide over it. With certain techniques, you can actively guide its balance. By tuning into your body's signals, you can even learn to shift from stress to calm. And it all begins with awareness. So here are my 5 personal tips that made a difference in my life and really impacted my family in the most positive ways. So for the first tip, you have to know that for some time I really struggled with the tantrums of my oldest son. It all began with kindergarten, when he turned 3. Every time I wanted to pick him up, he would cry and scream and refuse to go. On 2 or 3 occasions, I even had to carry him out of there, with my newborn in the carrier and him under my arm. It was very frustrating and embarrassing. So I started listening to a lot of videos about handling tantrums and emotional regulation in children. And something that I experienced during this time of trial and error was that every time I sensed that he was starting to get out of control of his emotions, I would make a joke. Most of the time, they weren't even good. In these moments, I watched his face. It changed from angry to puzzled in a few seconds. Then we would make eye contact and would both laugh. And this worked on so many occasions that I started using humor and making him laugh on more occasions during the day. and the whole atmosphere at home really changed. And not only did my son have less and less tantrums, I also remarked that I felt way calmer, less anxious and less nervous during the day. So that would be my first tip for you. Incorporate play and laughter. I think as mothers we often want to be very educative, but sometimes our children need more of a light-hearted mother in their presence. So once I listened to a TED Talk that emphasized on the benefits of play and laughter to regulate your nervous system, and so I researched the topic. Playful connection isn't just a temporary mood boost, it trains and heals your nervous system, making it even more flexible over time. You can think of it like exercise. Studies show it lowers levels of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, especially when it involves eye contact or touch. All of this stimulates the ventral vagus nerve, and this is a key part of our social engagement system, responsible for feelings of safety, calm and connection. Activating the system often makes it easier and faster for your nervous system to return to calm after stress. And there's also oxytocin, the bonding hormone, that floods your system during playful connection. Oxytocin directly counters the effects of cortisol, promoting relaxation and feelings of safety, and this further reinforces the rest and digest state. So try it for one day. Aim for your family members to laugh because of something you said or did. I am sure you will all benefit from it. My second tip would be get outside. Spending time outdoors is really beneficial for regulating your autonomic nervous system. It shifts you out of stress mode and into calm mode. Sunlight can prevent a dysregulation of cortisol and boost serotonin that is very important for mood stabilization. Even on cloudy days, natural light still helps reset your sleep-wake cycle. Also, fresh air triggers deeper breathing. This activates your vagus nerve, slowing your heart rate and lowering blood pressure. You should also try to embrace the seasons more. Bad weather can even be beneficial because walking in rain or wind or snow creates mild stress that trains your nervous system to adapt. There are studies that show that regular cold exposure improves resilience to anxiety. There are even Japanese studies that show that forest walks lower inflammation markers in your blood. So that's your reminder to get to the next forest or playground in your area. Make it fun for all of you by visiting different spots each time. And try to embrace the seasons. You will feel so accomplished by doing so. Number 3 would be engage in purposeful hands-on activities. That's also something I came across while researching topics like mindfulness and slow living, and I'm sure you've seen the trend as well. Perfect videos online about self-care routines, meditation, journaling, homesteading, women baking sourdough bread in sunlit kitchens, and to be honest, this inspired me as well. But this idealized version of slow living can also leave us feeling inadequate, as if we're failing some unattainable standard and ultimately make us feel more nervous and unaccomplished, especially if we're working and aren't even able to spend that much time at home. But besides from the aesthetic, we also find a truth in it, that we as women especially crave simplicity and connection to our natural rhythms. In Islam, we speak of our fitra, that's our innate God-given disposition towards balance, harmony and beauty. But you don't need to abandon modern life or move to a forest cabin for it. Instead, choose one small practice as your grounding practice. It could be baking your own bread, not every day, but for the tactile joy of kneading dough. I started to love baking sourdough bread. In the beginning, all the different steps and utensils felt overwhelming, but now, after a few rounds, it gets easier and I really enjoy the process. Grow herbs on your windowsill, or if you have a garden, you can plant vegetables or berries. I would also advise using your hands instead of wearing gloves, because the sensory feedback like the texture of the soil, temperature, moisture will further anchor us in the present and will help with calming your nervous system. And if you're a mother, try to involve your children. My son loves to get on a treasure hunt, always looking for ripe tomatoes or zucchini or different kind of berries. It's also his daily chore to get the eggs out of the chicken coop. And he still gets so happy and excited every time. But of course, every family has its own preferences. You can make your own yogurt or marmalade, ferment pickles, whatever feels like it could bring fun and value to your family's lives. All of this isn't about perfection or performance or being a self-sustainer by tomorrow. It's about returning to small, intentional acts that anchor us and bring joy to us and our families. And especially if you're working in an office and the results of your work don't always show physically, this might help because you will see the products of your work in so many different forms. Number 4 would be prioritize sleep. Okay, this is the one I struggle with the most. But sleep is the cornerstone of cognitive function, emotional regulation, and overall health. Research consistently links poor sleep to increased stress and burnout. And I'm going to be very bold here. If you're currently spending money on face serums and creams or even invasive procedures, but are not taking care of your sleep, you're just trying to fill a sieve with water. Studies connect poor sleep with an increase in fine lines, eyelid sagging, uneven pigmentation, and hair health decline. But you also face a higher risk of obesity, cardiovascular diseases, and it suppresses your immune system, making you more prone to infections. And if you have little kids around, you need this immune system to work perfectly. Trust me. So what can you do? Minimize screen exposure at least 1 hour before bed. Blue light suppresses melatonin production. No caffeine 6 hours prior to bed. And also try to avoid drinking in general 1 to 2 hours before bedtime. Also maintain a consistent sleep schedule even on weekends to regulate your circadian rhythm. And implement a pre-sleep ritual. Dim lighting, a warm bath or shower, or light reading to signal winding down. Really try to look forward to these rituals. Make them your daily personal spa time. I also like to use essential oils like lavender, either sprayed on the bed sheets or put into a diffuser. And if you can, make changes at home. For example, we changed the light bulbs in our whole house, so we always have the option of using very bright light in the morning and during the day, and red light in the evening. Small, deliberate changes can make a significant improvement in your sleep quality and overall well-being. And number 5, breathing and posture. We breathe around 20,000 times a day, mostly on autopilot. But when we consciously change how we breathe, we send a direct signal to our brain. And it's not that complicated. Fast, shallow chest breathing signals panic, fight or flight. On the other hand, slow, deep belly breathing stimulates our vagus nerve, slows down our heart rate and lowers stress hormones. But it also improves our heart rate variability, one of the most important markers for resilience and a good nervous system balance. And it's the same with posture. I often find myself in very uncomfortable and closed positions in the garden or doing housework, not knowing why I don't feel good in myself. An upright position, shoulders back, chest wide, signals our brain that we are safe, we're in control. So look at yourself right now, correct your posture and see the immediate effect. And here as well, I have to mention our Islamic tradition. Look at the way Islam teaches us to pray. Reciting Quranic verses requires controlled, rhythmic breathing, deep inhales, slow exhales, or the cycle through specific postures, standing upright, bowing and doing sujood with our forehead grounded and body low, deeply stimulating our vagus nerve. So when you do your next prayer, observe, how is your breath work? How is your posture? And how does it make you feel? That's it for today. Stay blessed. Assalamu alaikum.